Hi, and welcome to another edition of Seniors Today. I'm your host, Tom Bartee, and our guest today is Mr. Richard Freeman, who is the community editor of the Times Herald in Vallejo. Welcome.
Thank you.
Glad you could make it with us today.
Glad I could make it here.
Yeah, I know. It's probably incredibly difficult to break away from your hectic schedule at the headquarters.
No, it wasn't. I just left.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good to hear. I know that you always make room for something important like
Yes, I do.
Today's show.
When Tom calls, people respond.
Yeah, okay. So I don't know if people realize it, but obviously you have a long career with the Times Herald and a distinguished series of regular Sunday articles that.
It's approximately 23 years, 227 days.
And 65 minutes.
It's exactly 23 years, 227 days.
Wow. Now, how is it that
I keep track.
So, are you keeping track looking forward, or looking back?
Always look ahead.
Okay. A friend of mine was a golfer, and he had a vase of golf tees on his desk, and so every day he had just as many as the number of days between when he started and his retirement. So he'd pull one out every day, and he would theoretically watch the level go down in the vase. And one of his coworkers caught on, and so he kept putting one back in every day. So it never seemed to go away, and he was getting frustrated, but I'm sure you don't do anything like that.
And the irony is he died golfing, which is
probably. Probably. So the Times Herald actually has changed a lot since I first came to town. And even at one point there was a competing newspaper. Was it the Vallejo Independent Press?
Yes.
Were you?
Yes. No, I wasn't back that far.
Uh-huh.
I'm a new senior, Tom.
Oh, you're a senior?
I'm a new 62.
Wow.
62. Proud 62.
Oh, that's incredible.
Is that a senior?
Well,
I'm on the show. I must be.
Yeah, in most cases, 62 is a senior. So, does the Times Herald have any kind of outline about areas in the community that they want to make sure get covered over the course of the year, or is it kind of
right
random?
now we're working on the block where the building is at.
Uh-huh.
We want to cover the block with our two reporters that we have.
Okay. Well, there's a lot of action there today. They're actually filming.
Yeah, they're filming the third season of 13 Reasons Why, starting this week.
Yeah, so that's kind of exciting. I know they put a whole series of plants right in front of the parking lot next to our building that look really
Two
good.
are already at my front yard, by the way.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I thought I'd
snuck down
slip
with your
them into my
pickup truck?
trunk.
Yeah?
Yeah, don't notice.
Oh, well, was that kind of to supplement your income, or?
I'm not putting fake trees on eBay, no.
Oh,
It looks
okay.
nice in my front yard, though.
Oh, cool. So you live in Benicia?
No, downtown
You live
Vallejo.
in Vallejo?
9 years.
Wow. And how do you like that?
It's great. Right near Lincoln Elementary School, great kids. It's fun.
Uh-huh. I heard yesterday that the school district is looking at potentially downsizing, just because the Vallejo enrollment in the school district is continually declining as part of the demographics of our community, and I heard that maybe Lincoln might be a victim of consolidation.
I have voiced my concern with the district over that.
Yeah, I'm hoping it doesn't.
No, I hope, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We want them to be there.
So over the years of reading your article, I always appreciate your dry humor, and of course I always get criticized for mine. But
As well you should.
yeah, that's true. I appreciate that. And I was just wondering if you could give me a rough idea of how you got into doing that regular column, and if you have any specific goals and objectives with it, or you're just kind of throwing stuff out to your readership.
Well, it actually started in ninth grade, where I had a column called Freedman of the Press.
Oh, good.
And then that graduated to college at DVC first, and then San Jose State, where I also had a column not called Freedman of the Press. It was called something I can't say on the air here.
Oh,
But it was kind of the same thing.
it's one of those words that George Carlin used to talk about?
Yes, exactly. Well, it starts with a B.
Oh,
And it
okay.
rhymes with riches.
Oh, okay.
So that was my column. And just always kind of outspoken. Probably part of my dad. He was kind of an outspoken guy. And my sister, she was a journalism major in college, so I kind of learned that from her. And once I found out that I wouldn't have to wear a tie every day, I thought, that's a good job to have.
Well, that's...
They didn't tell me at the time it doesn't pay anything, but...
Well,
here nor there.
what you're doing is you're paying for the freedom of not having to wear a tie.
Exactly. I figured I've saved $300-400 on ties through the 23 years.
Yeah, and maybe even more if it was strictly silk.
Good point.
Yeah. Well, that's pretty good. Now, your dad apparently was an inspiration to you with his scholarly approach to the history of presidents and
My dad was a historian, presidential historian, and he lived to 99, and up until about a month before he died, he was reading a 400-page book on Thomas Jefferson.
Wow.
I couldn't finish that right now if I started now and died at 99. But yeah, he was amazing. He knew everything about presidents and vice presidents, and just something I could admire, I guess, and never live up to, basically.
Well, don't underestimate your ability. So maybe it was that he had gotten up to Obama, and all of a sudden he had the current president. He goes, well, maybe I better start over.
Yeah.
Is that how he ended up with Jefferson, or?
No, I think that's why he died last year.
Oh. Oh, you mean the president had something to do with it?
Yeah, I think it killed him, basically.
So where's your family originally from?
Parents from Brooklyn.
Okay.
I moved to L.A. I was born down in Southern California. When we were 5, I went to bed and woke up and the skies were blue, and I knew I wasn't in Southern California anymore.
Yeah.
So
I mean, you could see the sky.
I could see the sky. My dad got transferred to the Bay Area, San Francisco. We lived in Concord for many years.
What was your dad doing?
State Compensation Insurance Fund. He was executive vice president.
Wow.
Yes.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So Concord, and then you came to Vallejo 23 years, 200 and some days ago?
Yeah, there were various cities and locations that we won't talk about between that time.
Oh, yeah.
I did live 9 different places in Benicia, so I know Benicia. And then we found a great house in downtown Vallejo, built in 1890. And my wife says, we're getting that house.
And one of those places wasn't like Folsom or Soledad or San Quentin?
No, I've avoided prison. It's amazing.
Oh. Well, except for...
Well, you know how. Good lawyers.
Oh, really?
Lawyers, yes.
Oh, that's pretty interesting. I've been working on that myself, actually. So 9 places in Benicia, and then it was 9 years ago you came to
9 years
Vallejo?
ago, December 1st, 9 years ago, we moved to Vallejo.
Well, you know, that was a good time to buy.
It was. And my wife at the time worked for a bank, so that helped a lot.
Oh, okay. Yeah, get a deal on, or check with Manafort on how to get a good loan.
Yes. Manafort.
So your wife actually is an accomplished vocalist.
She is a good singer.
Uh-huh.
She's done a lot of national anthems. One time she did the national anthem at Corbis Field. And in fact, C.C. Sabathie was standing with her, and the music starts, and she started singing, and a bug flew in her mouth. And it was a great moment in national anthem history. She had to choke that out and start over, and Mr. Sabathie was laughing hysterically. That's what I remember.
Did you ever figure out what kind of insect it was?
No, it was show-stopping. It was
show-stopping.
She trudged on and did it again, and but she never sings at home. I don't know why. And I never sing anywhere, so it's a public service.
Yeah, that's probably a good thing.
It's a public service. Anyway, we were talking about my dad. I want to bring up the point that anytime I would go over to and have lunch with him every Thursday, we did Thursday lunch with Bernie for about 2 years. And he would always have, he lived in Vacaville, so he would always have the Vacaville paper, and he would present to me the paper with all the typos and errors that he would circle through the entire paper that I had to read.
I see.
Yeah, because I don't make enough working at the Times Herald. I'd have to go and catch all the airs from our other paper in Vacaville.
Oh, okay. So that was the corporation that you work for now has a plethora of papers.
Plethora, yes.
Plethora of papers.
Right now they do. Who knows tomorrow? Could have a lot fewer. But yeah, Vacaville and Marin and Vallejo, Woodland, Contra Costa Times is part of the chain.
Well, another guy that has a regular column in the Times Herald, Brendan Riley.
Mm-hmm. The legend of Vallejo.
His family goes way back, and apparently his dad at one point was a publisher, or the editor, you can correct me, whatever that was, of the Napa Register and the Times Herald. So I was told.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay. And I've had him.
I believe Mr. Riley, whatever he says.
And I've had him on the show, and he has some great stories.
He does have great stories. So it was a fascinating downtown years ago, wartime and beyond.
Well, I also heard from Dennis Brenson one time that he thought that the Times Herald and also a paper called the Chronicle, maybe not San Francisco Chronicle, were published in the basement of the old Sears building, which is right at the corner of Georgia Street and Sonoma Boulevard. So he's calling that the cradle of literacy for that aspect of the media.
That's a fun fact to know.
Yeah,
I never
if
knew
it's
that.
true.
I never knew that. It's got to be true.
Yeah. And
You
so
said
when
it.
did you guys actually relocate from Curtola Parkway?
2 years ago.
It's been 2 years?
2 years in April from 440 Curtola, which eventually will be a granite store. They've been working on that for a while.
So you take it for granted?
Yes, we take it for granted.
Oh, I see. And they have flooring too.
They have everything you want to have in the
I
granite
see.
store.
Well,
But we love our new building on the 420 Virginia Street.
uh-huh.
And we have the politicians on the first floor, so that's interesting.
Yeah, I would
Senator.
think that, news has a tendency to trickle down, so that's probably a good setup with you on the second floor.
Yes, it's a great setup. No, it's a great location downtown. I
Uh-huh.
love it.
So the way your organization is set up right now, you have a regional publisher that manages multiple locations? Or
He
how-
manages the 3 I-80 locations, Vallejo, Vacaville, and Woodland.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And Woodland, that's right downtown, isn't it? Woodland.
Yep. And the Vacaville paper also moved downtown, so we're all nice and downtown now. We know much smaller buildings than we had before.
So is it possible that when your dad was checking the newspapers for errors to share with you in your spare time, that he didn't find any errors in the Vallejo paper? That's why he was showing you the Vacaville paper.
Highly unlikely.
Likely. Okay.
No, he was pretty good at pointing them out. But
So I know that you guys are mean and lean. Maybe mostly.
I think we're mean about being lean,
yeah,
actually.
mostly mean.
Yes.
And so on occasion, when the editor has to be out of town for whatever reason, does that mean that you're the sort of the top guy at the top dog at the organization?
By a process of elimination, yes. That would
Okay.
make me the top dog.
Woof.
Or, yeah, like a chihuahua, basically.
Chihuahua.
would
Or
be the dog.
Dachshund or something.
Yes, like this coming week when the editor is in his hometown of Chicago.
He's from Chicago.
Yes,
huh?
he is.
Well, that's my hometown too, but that's a long time ago.
Yes, many years, I hear.
Many, many years ago.
Which would make you a senior.
Yeah, officially I am now.
You could host the show.
Yeah. I just started getting gray hair about 2 weeks ago.
I started getting gray hair when I said I do.
Oh, man. Hopefully your spouse won't be watching the show.
No.
So another cool thing that you do is you get involved with performances of comedians and maybe music on occasion. I know that, is it the Majestic Theater in Benicia?
Did some things there for many years, a long time ago when I lived in Benicia. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of fundraising stuff because everybody needs money. especially now with nonprofits and everything.
Yeah. Yeah. And then one of your buddies, also from Chicago, is Rocky.
Rocky Laporte, who's going to be at the Empress, or was at the Empress, as you see this, came in and did a show for the Empress. Very funny man.
Yeah, Rocky is a great comedian. I'm looking forward to that show. So, have you always been a community guy, or have you...
Well, the title on the card says community editor, so you kind of have to live up to that and get out in the community. Although sometimes it is difficult to just be inundated all the time, because our staff was like 18 reporters and now we're 2. So we have to deal with that, which puts a little burden on all of us. But we do what we can to cover the town.
So 18 reporters down to 2, is that during the course of your employment with the paper?
Yes.
So it's possible that one time it was even more than that.
It'll be me. I'll be the last guy there.
The last man standing?
Last man. I get to turn on the lights, but I have to dump the trash too.
So your column is every 2 weeks now?
Theoretically, every 2 weeks, or mostly first Sunday of every month. It used to be every week, but the demands of the position, where I have to do all the art section now, I'll only do column basically once a month.
Is there a special software that you use to prepare the paper for public or for printing on a daily basis?
It's actually done in Chico, of all places. We do the stories and send them online to our Chico hub, which does most of our papers in the Bay Area. And they print them there and put them on a truck and send them to Vallejo.
Wow.
Yeah, there's no more stop the presses at Vallejo, which is what we used to do. Right
When there was a scoop.
When we had, and we had the
Stop
presses. Yeah, there's nothing like the papers coming down, and just like the movies.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming that you're involved at some level in the budgeting and the finances of the paper.
Absolutely none.
None?
And rightly so.
All right. Well, my question was going to be, what is the profile of, the pie chart of sources of revenue for the paper now, and what would be the biggest one? Is it classified ads or advertising, or?
I'm sure it's still advertising, online advertising, the major companies. Yeah, classifieds are almost gone, thanks to online and Craigslist, things like that.
And the advertising online is probably a bigger piece of the pie than the ads that you might have in the paper?
Yeah, we have, most of our readers now, I think, are online. So I foresee someday where the print will probably be eliminated, if not once a week, and they'll just be online every day. And now we're 6 days a week.
I seem to observe that there's more of the smaller articles and the special interest articles in the actual paper than you might find in the online edition. Is that true, or are they identical?
That's your vivid imagination, Tom.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. So they're identical?
There'll be more articles online just for space reasons. In the print, you're obviously limited by how many inches of copy and all that, and how many stories, so we could actually put more online. And there'll be more photos online because that's limitless.
So is it the editor's job to scan the various news sources in order to bring articles?
We're trying to figure out what the editor's job actually is.
Oh, okay.
It's a constant source of confusion.
So do you want to make sure that we send him a copy of the show?
No. He's out. He's out of town during the running of this show.
Oh, okay. Maybe we'll have him on as a follow-up interview.
Sure.
He'll talk about the various members of the staff, but we'll see what happens.
It's almost not plural. You can almost just say member
of staff?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
But it's interesting because of our 2 reporters, one is going to be out of the country for a month. Intentionally, she wasn't, deported or anything, but then we're going to have 1 reporter for a month.
Wow.
It's a challenge. It's a challenge.
You need some help?
Lots of help.
I'm actually pretty good at writing articles.
You're hired. You start Monday.
Okay. And the benefits involved?
Yes. Writing. You get to write all you want.
Yeah, and then free parking?
Well, yeah, free parking, as long as you could get through the gate of the parking gate while they're filming. But, yeah.
I purchased a book the Times Herald put together a year or so ago that was actually very cool. Stories of the history of Vallejo and things like that. Are you going to be, or is the paper going to be doing something like that again soon?
I imagine they will on some milestone date. I think we're coming up on our 100 years in 2 years.
100 years?
100 years.
Wow.
And I think I've been most of them.
Or at least by then it'll be
Feels
one
like it.
quarter of those.
Exactly. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, that was a great book.
So what happens to old reporters and old journalists? It's like other professions, they just kind of fade away, or I mean, do you go to...
They become cable TV hosts.
Oh, hey. You mean like local closed circuit TV?
That's a good question. They get together every so often and complain about how bad it was while they were working.
Uh-huh. It's interesting that Jack, I remember, started his career as a sports reporter.
As did I. I did too.
You did too?
Mm-hmm.
Did you know, and I'm not going to be able to remember his name, Dave?
Yeah, I know the guy.
Yeah, right. Dave's not home.
I know Dave.
He was a sports reporter for the Times Herald for many, many years, and he was well known in the Bay Area, except for by me.
Dave Baronio. Dave Baronio, the late,
Baronio.
great Dave Baronio.
Yeah.
Writer and illustrator. Yeah, he was wonderful.
Yeah, he did do caricatures and things like that,
The
right?
49ers and, yeah. Well,
Yeah,
it was
so
great.
there, the history of the staff of the Times Herald is actually pretty storied in many ways. And now you are creating your own legacy and your own story.
You know, you mentioned that. I recently went to Pleasanton to meet my son there at a restaurant that I went to when my first job out of college at San Jose State was the Valley Times in Pleasanton. And we wrote, a friend of mine on the staff, we wrote a story rating all the pizzas in the Valley, and that particular restaurant won. And they still have the story on the wall from 1980.
Wow.
So 38 years ago, and the article's still on the wall. So that kind of tells you that, you can make an impact.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
You still have...
I looked younger then.
Oh.
A few more hairs. But,
Oh,
yeah.
you're not doing too bad.
Yeah. From the right angle.
I think at some point it will be interesting for you to kind of bring back some of the stories in your weekly column, stuff like that, or stuff like Freeman of the Press. One of the constitutional amendments that we'll be pushing.
Yeah.
In addition to
That
freedom
one.
of the press.
Oh.
But that's very cool. And you've had an admirable career, and I've seen you cover a lot of things in Vallejo, and it's important for people to have that personal side of what's going on in the community. And I know, for one, I appreciate you and the other reporter.
Yeah, thanks. He says thank you.
And also, we're almost out of time, and so I appreciate you being here today too.
Oh, you're welcome. And I think it's getting better here. Everything they're doing on Mare Island and some things downtown and with the filming and everything. And people supporting VCAT, of course. Hopefully.
Yeah. Well, I for one do the best I can in that regard, and we hope to keep the ball rolling in that respect as well. So, thanks for being here today, Rich.
You're welcome. It's my
And
pleasure.
Again, remember, Freeman of the Press.
Freeman of the Press.
All right, thank you. That's all the time we have for today. Our show airs at 6 p.m. on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and it's available on Comcast Channel 27, AT&T UVerse 99, and streaming live video at VCAT Come see us again next time.